It's no secret that manga has become very popular nowadays due to just the many genres and the many kinds of stories that the mangas are able to showcase to many different kinds of people. There's always a manga for whatever kind of genre or storytelling that you're a huge fan of. I mean, manga is so popular, there's countless of YouTube videos of just people just shopping or filming the many kinds of manga that a store has. But like always, these mangas wouldn't exist without an author that is responsible for the storytelling and the many different kinds of characters in that story. And for many years, there have been countless mangakas that have become very famous and or even legendary because of the work that they have made. But what happens when there is a popular manga series that was so popular and many people were huge fans of and had the potential to be one of the most memorable mangas, but sadly became ruined because of the author's actions? And this is where we have to talk about that exact scenario in a manga series that now has become infamous, known as Act Age. Act Age was a manga series that was actually created by the manga artist that is known as Tatsuya Matsuki and illustrated by Shiro Uzasaki. Both of these people were responsible for creating a manga series that was so popular that was even nominated in the 43rd annual Kodansha Award, and with a total of 123 chapters, it's safe to say that this story had no intentions of stopping, and it was very clear there was going to be some sort of conclusion to this story. But unfortunately, that would never happen because of what happened later on. But before we talk about the incident and the controversy that ended this manga series, let's first talk about what Act Age is and what is the story about it. Act Age is a story about our main female protagonist named Kei Yonagi, who is a girl who has had to deal with a lot of things at such a young age. Not only is there no father figure in her life, but she also is responsible for taking care of her other two siblings because unfortunately her mother passed away. But despite all the circumstances, there is one thing that Kei seems to be very good at, and that is acting. Not only is she good at playing a character, but she can also display different kinds of emotions very quickly and very easily as well. So much so that many people seeing this are in shock because not even a professional is able to do the many things that she does at such a very fast rate. And for them, it took them a lot of time and effort to get to where they are. But with Kei, it seems that once she's able to understand the character that she's playing and what she has to do, she's able to pretend to be somebody else apart from herself. And while that does seem great, it also is a double-edged sword, since there are scenarios in which Kei gets too into character that she has a hard time separating reality from fiction, and that's the many things that Kei has to deal with all throughout the entirety of the story. Not only being a great actor, but also knowing when to separate fiction from reality. Now, for the sake of this video, I actually had to go through all 123 chapters that were made, and overall, it's a very solid story because not only are you interested with Kei's character journey, but you're also very interested in the other characters' journeys as well. Not to mention that these story arcs not only make Kei a better character, but it also is to showcase the many different struggles that actresses and actors have to go through on a daily basis. What they had to do or what they had to go through to get the skills that they have, and knowing the many secrets that many of these actors have inside of them that they can't show, because not only will this affect their image, but this also affects their potential roles that they could be playing out in the near future. So essentially, the Act Age story is exactly what you would expect from a story that's talking about the insides of the entertainment industry. And if that sounds really similar, well, that's because in a way, this story reminds you a lot of the now extremely popular manga series Oshinoko. But unlike Oshinoko, that not only focuses on the entertainment industry but also has a revenge story as well, it seems that Act Age was more of a psychological study of someone being so talented and so good at acting that they're able to pretend and be just like that character. However, the downside is that because of that, they're not able to fully escape that character and actually believe that they're that character when that character is nothing but fiction. And me personally, I feel like had this story continued, Act Age would have reached popularities the same level as Oshinoko. But this is where we get into the controversy in the incident that happened that is the reason why this series has now become very infamous, all because of the actions of the author Tatsuya Matsuki. On August 8th, 2020, Tatsuya was arrested by the Japanese police Now, before we continue, I have to give a quick warning because what I'm about to tell you is something that is very serious and something that is very disturbing that someone would do. So, just a quick warning. But the reason why Tatsuya was arrested by the police was because of an incident that happened on June 18th, 2020. A junior high school girl was assaulted by a man who then fled on a bike. This incident would happen at 8 p.m. when the girl was approached from behind by the suspect while on his bike. During this time, the suspect inappropriately touched her on her chest and then fled very quickly. The girl went to the police, who analyzed the security camera footage to investigate. And it will be during this investigation that the police would discover that an hour later, this suspect would do a very similar incident to another girl that was also a junior high schooler as well. And after careful examination and after the investigation, the police concluded that this suspect was in fact Tatsuya Matsuki, and this will lead to the police arresting him on August 8th of 2020. After this arrest was made public, many people were wondering what was going to happen to the Act Age manga, but very quickly people would find out what would happen to this manga series. Because Act Age was a part of Weekly Shonen Jump, which is run by Shueisha, after this whole incident happened, very quickly canceled the series, leaving the story incomplete. And chapter 123, this being the latest chapter that was released on August 11th of that same year, 2020, would be the last chapter of Act Age. And on August 17th, 2020, Shueisha announced that it would be suspending all the sales of the manga and that volume 13 and further volumes would be cancelled as well. And this goes the same for the English version as well, as Viz Media, not only did they delete all the chapters from their site, but any future volumes were cancelled right away, with volume 3 of the English version of Act Age being the last volume. However, one piece of information that I found interesting was that in a later interview, the illustrator Shiro Uzazaki was actually given the opportunity to continue the manga series just with a different writer. However, Shiro felt uncomfortable and didn't feel like it was okay for the series to still continue, as Shiro felt that the work continuing would hurt the victims of the crime to see the work created by their assailants still being published and still continuing even after that incident happened. So because the illustrator had no intentions of continuing the work, it seems that the cancellation was the other option that they had to go with. Not only that, but on August 24th, 2020, Shiro would release a statement expressing sympathy towards the victims and encouraging all the fans of the manga series to not go out and attack or harass the victims of this case, and considers the cancellation of the manga series to have been the right thing to do, even though she deeply regrets having to end the story midway. And on September 16, 2020, Matsuki was formally indicted for the second of the two indecent acts committed. Matsuki's sentencing was held on December 23rd of that same year as well, in which the court handed Matsuki a guilty verdict and a sentence of 1 year and 6 months in prison, suspended for 3 years. This means that Matsuki will not actually face his prison sentence if he remained on good behavior for the next 3 years. However, if he does anything during those 3 years, he will not only be arrested once again, but he would actually have to face his prison sentence, meaning that he will be in jail for 1 year and 6 months. And that is how this case ends. And overall, this is a very disgusting case. I mean, we're talking about a grown adult committing some very terrible actions to two people who were still in middle school. And this wasn't like a mistake because he did it twice. So it's very clear that he knew what he was doing, and he knew that what he was going to do was completely wrong and could send him to jail, but he did it anyway. And now not only is he not liked by the majority of people, but one of his popular works is not only cancelled, but is probably a series that nobody wants to touch or read ever again because of the person who made it. Which is a shame because, like I said, I only read it just for the sake of this video, but it was a very solid story, and like I said, it could have been up to that level of Oshinoko, of not only being extremely popular, but also being something that a lot of people are going to remember later on in the future. But that is not going going to happen anymore because of what this manga artist decided to do. And also something else that I also found very interesting as well was that there was actually plans of making a light novel version and a live stage play of Act H. So this just further proves that this series was extremely popular. I mean, it was going to get a light novel version of the series and a live stage play for it. It's unknown how far in development these two projects were, but they were announced on June 2020, just 2 months before Tatsuya would be arrested. And these projects would have been released in the year 2022. Another thing that I saw when I was researching this topic as well was that there was actually talks of an anime adaptation of Act H. Now this wasn't ever confirmed. I only seen like a few things being mentioned that there was apparently some sort of talks that an anime was going to be made of Act H. This wasn't confirmed or anything, so take this with a grain of salt. But apparently there was going to be an anime for Act H, but ever since everything happened and he was arrested and he was charged and found guilty, yeah, it's very obvious that we are never going to get an anime adaptation of Act H, which is once again a great shame because it was a very solid story, and it wouldn't surprise me because the manga was so popular that when the anime was made, it would have become even more popular than it already was. But now the Act H series is just used as another case of a manga author caught doing something very terrible in real life and becoming a garbage person. Which unfortunately this isn't even the first time. There's been many other examples of other mangakas who have committed terrible crimes and have had to deal with the judicial system. And even though there are re-uploads of the chapters of Act H, to be fair, it's not really worth reading because first of all, it's an incomplete story, so you're just wasting your time really. And why would you read the story of a guy who assaulted two girls who were young, by the way? Like, this is the kind of people I wouldn't want to associate with, and these are the kind of people's work I wouldn't read. And like I said earlier, the only reason why I read this manga to begin with was for research purposes. The only thing that we really don't know to this very day is if there was any chapters already ready to be released, or there was chapters in the drafts board that were clearly going to be released in the near future, but now they are probably going to be locked away and never to be seen ever again. That is something that it's always worth thinking, that in a way this has also become kind of sort of lost media, although we don't know if there's any actual chapters that were unreleased. But it is curious to wonder how far this series could have gone had this never happened and had the manga artist not done the crimes that he did. But anyways, that's where I'm going to end the video. I'll see you next time.